if you know of anyone currently here to protect their privacy and their right to tell their own story. Thank you. Please proceed when ready.
Morning, guys. My name's Knoll. Everybody can hear me okay? I was 10 years old when I was sent away. I was not a troubled child. I was a rambunctious child, but I was 10 years old. There was no drugs or alcohol involved. Barely knew the difference between right and wrong. I was transferred out of the state of Washington, across several thousand miles, and I ended up in Lucedale, Mississippi for my first program, which also exchanged students with programs here that operated here. They would just trade students and take them back and forth. At that program, it was called Bethel Boys Academy, and I'll get into the Missouri ones in a minute, but it's really important for me to share this with you. I was 10 years old, a very little guy. I'm sure some of you have children yourselves. And that program, I encourage you guys all to look it up, was one of the most abusive things I've ever witnessed. I had dogs, pit bulls, sick on us, pit bulls that were trained to attack us. Yondo Schmiede, and we're running. Imagine what that's like for your 10-year-old. I was held down in swimming ponds and held underwater. I personally witnessed people have to be resuscitated. All means of which is meant to control and put the fear in children so that it doesn't happen to them. There is no reason to do this to children, period. That is just a quick, brief outline of what happened at Bethel. I please encourage you guys to look at, because that's what's coming to your state. It's what's already here. These stories that's going on right now here in this state, you won't hear about it for 15 years because these people are going to kill themselves. They're going to turn to drugs and alcohol. It's going to take them a long time to recover. This is happening here now. You're going to hear about it in 15 years. That happened when I'm 10. I'm 34 years old right now. And so then I was moved to this state. I was moved to Stockton, Missouri. Doctor boarding school. I was 13 at that point. I had been away from my mom, my brothers, my family. I didn't have Christmases or anything else, and none of that is relevant as it pertains to the law. But it's important for you to understand the psychological impact of a child. You're away from your family and everything that you know, and you're going to supposedly a place that's going to care for you. You're already dealing with a tremendous amount of anxiety, depression of being away, and you go to a home. I went to that same program that Colton was just referencing. I was that boy standing on the wall. I was that boy that was restrained for 2 months straight, every single day. That was me. Because sometimes I didn't want to go to church. I didn't have a choice. You're going to go to church, or we're going to throw you on the ground until you want to go to church. I was also rebellious, and I never went to church. So 2 years, or 2 months being held down for not wanting to go to church, for not believing into these people that are abusing me. I don't want to hear what they want to say and preach to me. So these things that went on. I'm not going to get into too much more in the abuse. I do want to talk about the law. And that law is the fact that we're discussing it is mind-boggling in 2021. And I understand the politics and all that, and I spoke to them. I do appreciate the sponsorship of this bill and the bipartisan sponsorship of this bill or proposal. Background checks is a must. I think that the fact that we even have to have these discussions or resistance or do these things, these minor things, and have to do things to please other side, this is not a debate. If I kick a dog, there's more outrage than what's going on in this state. So I'm all on board for this. Obviously, I can't go against it. I ask that this not be the end. Everyone here, every senator, or congressman, or representatives, this cannot be the end. This could be the start. I am adamantly opposed to regulating religious programs, and I really do believe strongly that they should have a separate state and church. But I also believe in the civil rights of these children. I believe in the right to, this is their one shot. And I cannot passionately say how big of an impact this has on your community, and you're going to hear from a bunch of people. We're not your community. They're bringing in people over here, and they're bringing problems. So some of these people do live here now. But this impact that it's had on me, I'm a man, and just to sit up here and be on the verge of tears right now should mean something to you. Please act, and act now. And one other thing, and then I will wrap up and the next witness speak. And please do not shy away from questions. I will take questions and be professional. But I have spent I do want to say that the abuse and the trauma that I went through had a tremendous impact on my life. I made terrible, poor decisions. I suffered depression, anxiety. I still suffer those things. I've learned to deal with them. But through all the things of not learning how to live properly and being forced and beaten and tortured in these programs, I didn't make the best choices. And I'm 34 years old now, and I'm fortunate to say that I've written a book about my experience. I've founded and co-founded a nonprofit to help parents make different choices and provide counseling resources that will give them other options. That is what it's become, not because of the programs and not because of this state who failed me personally. This state failed me. State of Mississippi failed me, but we're talking about this state. This state failed me, but I'm still here today, and I'm being that voice. Let's not let somebody else come up here in 10 years and have to say, why did you fail me? I question to you guys, I know that you may not have been in office then, is why did the state of Missouri fail me? And why is the state of Missouri failing these kids right now? And so, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the time. I do understand the religious factor, but it's not about that at all. So I'd love to take any questions, and please feel free to answer. I will not. So.
Thank you for being here. Are there any questions for this witness? Vice Chair Bailey.
To inquire. Thank you. Thank you, sir, for being here. And how long were you here in Missouri at that facility? Like what ages?
Yes. So I 2.5 years. I was at a Catholic boarding school for about 31 months. I was between 13 and 15 years old.
And you were restrained every day just because you didn't want to go?
Towards the end of my stay, it became apparent there was an incident. These programs cost a lot of money. My parents were paying $2,000 a month, and the staff member, the owners, had come to me and asked me to call my mother to pay them. And I said no, and that was the reason I didn't want to go to church anymore, was because it became apparent to me that it was about money.
Yeah.
And so I didn't, and I never went to church again, and I was restrained for it.
Unfortunately, money is sometimes the root of all evil. And I do apologize what happened to you. And you being here today is, I think, part of your healing, and I appreciate that, and you have courage. Honestly, I mean, that you're doing this right now is huge, and I thank you for being here, and I'm sorry they did that in the name of Christ, because that's not what Christ is about. And but I wish you well, and that you're here doing all this is wonderful, all the witnesses, so I wish you the best, and thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Dogan, please proceed.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, for coming forward and telling your story. I can only imagine the horror and the trauma that inflicted on you. I would like to know, at what point did you feel comfortable telling your story? Did you try and tell people what was going on when you were a kid? Or did you, were you just scared and you couldn't do that at that point?
Yes, thank you for asking. That is a great question. And one thing that could be approached in this bill is, yes, I did. Of course, I'm 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 in these programs. And one of the things is they pre-program your parents, the community, to not believe anybody. Troubled kids, liars. They just are manipulative. They just want to go home. That's what they're going to tell you. That's what they tell your parents when they drop you off. These children will lie. They also monitor your calls. They will hang up your phone if you start talking about anything there. They will call your parents and say, he's been acting up, he's manipulating you, don't worry, your child's in good hands. This happened regularly to me. Also, I did manage to escape and get to a phone and call 911. And this was not in this state, this is in Mississippi. And my eye was completely swollen shut. And I did call 911. I waited until the police car, I hid. And I ran down there, and my eye was not just black, but my eye was out, like not like ball, but swollen outwards. And the sheriff went inside and talked to them, because this is how the strongness of these small communities. They choose these very small rural areas. But the sheriff went in. The sheriff came out and said, "Next time you won't get smart." And that's what happened. And the irony is I'd love to get that 911 tape and those things that happened. Also, CPS came in twice. And I was recorded on tape and left both times.
And were your parents able to be helpful, or?
No. I was sent when I was 10 years old. So I think without attacking my parents, I will be truthful. I just believe, I don't think I was wanted. I think there was other priorities in my parents' life. And so my parents, I still thought they loved me at that time, and I would call. I don't think it mattered. I just don't think I was going to go home. And today I think my mother does, maybe because of what's going on and the advocacy work that I do. But I don't know, and I don't think it matters. I think there are kids there right now that don't have the same parental situation that I do. I mean, when I was at Agape, there was 8-year-olds there. 8-year-olds. And so, who's going to be their voice if their parents don't believe them? I get it. And so it's really important that we do whatever we can. I'm not on the law side, I'm on the advocacy side. I'm out there every day just trying to be that voice, and I can only do my community good, but we can do better.
Are there any further questions for this witness? Thank you for being here. I'm going to say this to you, and then I won't probably say it to everyone else who testifies, because I think that there's a trend here and we're going to see a lot of the same types of things. And I'm a mother of 6. I have 5 sons, and I see my son sitting there, and this is a very emotional testimony, and they're all going to be very emotional, and I just want to thank you for sharing your story and apologize on behalf of the state. Thank you, sir. Would the next witness please come forward?
Thank you, guys.